Welcome to the World Karate Federation's live draw for the first Karate1 Premier League of the season. The draw and competition take place in the beautiful city of Fujairah in the United Arab Emirates. This is the first time that the round-robin system will be used in the Karate1 Premier League. But before we start the actual draw, perhaps a little explanation of how the draw system works may be useful. There are a maximum of 32 places per category. Each one of the 32 athletes entered in as seeded for the competition based on their event position at the beginning of registration. The athletes on the start list of the competition are then divided across a maximum of 8 pools in 8 groups. Group 1 is for the athletes seeded 1 to 8. 2 athletes seeded 9 to 16. Group 3 athletes 17 to 24. And finally, Group 4 athletes seeded 25 to 32. Athlete seeding for the competition is determined by the position of the athlete on the World Karate Federation overall ranking. And in addition to the athletes' event seeding, the top 8 world-ranked athletes on the start list are then the events seeds 1 to 8. However, if, for example, the world ranked number 1 is not present at the competition, but the world ranked number 2 in the same category is, then the world ranked number 2 will appear in the draw as the number 1 seed for the category. Sounds a bit complex? It isn't really. The same principle will then apply to the other athletes in the competition. And the top 8 seeds in a category have a designated position across the 8 pools in a predetermined allocation based on their seeding. And athletes in all remaining groups are then randomly designated their position across the 8 pools automatically by the computer. Now the bout order is determined on the number of athletes in each pool. And as we see here, 32 to 24 athletes, there are 8 pools. And it gradually goes a little lower depending on the number of athletes in each of the pools. And the lowest it could be is just 1 pool for 5 or less athletes. But we'll see that start to unfold as we get into the draw proper. The bout order, according to their seeds, is determined as we go through the competition. So each of the tatami will have a number of allocated pools. And in, for example, this case, we see group number 1. The first seed will go against the second in the group, and then we'll go to group number 2, and the third match against the fourth, and then group number 3, second against third. As you see, it starts to unfold, and that way the athletes get an opportunity for a rest between each bout. When the pool system has completed, the round robin is finished, the competition then unfolds into a knockout, and that is determined in the final of the medal bouts through from the quarter-final rounds. As we see on the slide here now, we are in the quarter-finals. The top half of the slide refers to the winners of pools 1, 2, 3 and 4. The bottom half of the quarter-final, winners in pools 5, 6, 7 and 8. And then they progress. The winners of each match go into the semi-final. And the winners of those semi-finals then progress to the finals, who will be determining who takes the gold and who takes the silver. The bronze medal is determined by the loser of the quarterfinal. You see here in the bronze bouts, loser quarterfinal in matches 5 and 8. They then will compete for bronze against the loser of semi-final 1. And on the bottom half of the table, they will compete against the loser of semi-final 2. So, time for the draw. Excitement builds. We have some of the best karateka in the world competing once again. First time in the Karate1 Premier League in 2022. Olympic champions, world champions, continental champions. They're all here. It's going to be amazing. So we're going to start the draw with the kata categories. And here we have, first of all, the female draw. Down the right-hand side, groups 1. You can see the seeds now starting to be apportioned across. Sakura Kokomai, of course, she was one of the Olympians. Fantastic performance, ended up in 5th place in the Olympics. And we don't see the current double world champion and Olympic champion, Sandra Sanchez. She's not here. But in pool 6, as you see, Kyoshimizu, double world champion. She was also the silver medalist in the Olympics. She will be looking to try to put her place back on the top of the tree. And she's starting right here in Fujairah. As you see the draw unfolding here in the female kata category, each of those athletes now are apportioned randomly across the pool. You can see the majority of the categories of the pools have 4 athletes. Some have 3. I'll explain that in a moment. Here is the male kata draw, starting with the seeds in Group 1. Matteo Bassato from Italy, fantastic athlete. And as I said, some of these have 4 groups, 4 in the group, some have just 3. And it determines really on the number of athletes overall in the category. And there are 28 in this category. So some of the pool will have fewer athletes. There'll be some interesting encounters when we get through the pool rounds to see who is going to qualify for the quarterfinals, and then it will start to unfold into the bronze and gold medal positions. So they're both of the katas, and we're going to move on to the kumite, starting with the minus 50 kilogram. And as you see, there are 6 pools here. 2 of the pools have been crossed off, and that is because there are 22 athletes in the group overall in the draw. So in the Premier League, as opposed to the Olympics, the weight categories are slightly different. But in the female, remember, in the Olympics, we had the female minus 60, minus 55, and female minus 61 categories, and then over 61. So these athletes would have been competing in the minus 55, those that could. Of course, the Olympic gold medal went to Yvette Goranova of Bulgaria. Angelika Teliuga, as we see here, the number 1 seed. She'll be going in that draw again, and she has taken the silver medal in the Olympic Championships. Minus 55 kilogram, and there we have number 1 in pool 8, Angelika Teliuga, Olympic silver medalist. Should be looking to stamp her authority in this division as well. Wen Su-yun, also an Olympic medalist. She is in pool number 5. Wen Su-yun took the bronze medal in Tokyo. That completes the draw for that particular category. Onto the female kumite -61. This time, Anita Seragina is the number 1 seed, and she sits there at the top. Seragina took the 5th place position in the Olympics. But we're also there, we have from Japan, Mayumi Samaya. Some of the top athletes again, still competing and eager to get this new season for Karate1 Premier League up and running. This is the first time that the draw has been done in this particular way. No doubt it's going to be a great way to become part of the draw and understand how the system is going to work moving forward. More importantly, for the coming World Senior Championships, moving forward, the system will change and there will only be 32 athletes per category in the World Championship. So it's going to be really important phase of the development of karate over the next coming years. Female kumite -68 kilogram category. Irina Zaretska, the number 1 seed. Beryl Abdelaziz in pool 4. She's moved across into that area. Remember, the first 8 seeds, the top 8 seeds, are automatically apportioned across, so they can't meet at this stage. And as you see here, in pool 8, you have the number 1 seed. In pool 4, the number 2 seed. Pool 2, the number 3 seed. And there it goes down across. And there's also an opportunity to have a look at the ranking. And this is the female kumite plus 68 kilogram category. And there on the right-hand side, all of the athletes, starting with Torres Garcia, Maria Torres Garcia. She's ranked number 4, but she's the number 1 seed for the competition. And that is how I was explaining a little earlier, where you might have the world number 1 in the ranking, but if they're not in the competition, then it would be down to the seeding of the competition on the day. Once more, with the limit of 21 athletes in this particular division, there are only 5 pools. And we move on to the male kumite categories now. The male -60 and the number 1 seed, world ranked number 3, Angelo Crescenzo, taking his position. Seed number 2 in pool 4, Kaiser El Bizbi. Seed number 3 in pool number 2, Ivengi Plakutin. Ivengi Plakutin, Angelo Crescenzo. That would be an interesting one. We see those later on coming together in the quarterfinals and beyond. Male kumite -67 kilogram category. Remember the world and Olympic champion, Stephen Da Costa. He's not in the draw. There are just 23 athletes in this, but Ali Al-Sawi was 5th place in the Olympics. He's seeded number 1 in the draw, world ranked number 2. Vinicius Figueira of Brazil, pool number 4. And that completes the male kumite minus 67 kilogram category. Onto the male minus 75 kilogram, and the Olympic champion Luigi Busa isn't in the competition, but Abdallah Abdelaziz certainly is competing. We do have, he was competing in the Tokyo Olympics along with Stanislav Haruna. Of course, Haruna, who ended up with the bronze medal. Haruna, seeded number 2 for the competition, is in pool 4. Gabor Haspataki, again, a fabulous performance, getting a bronze medal in the Olympics in Tokyo 20. Rafael Agiev, Luigi Busa, not competing. Male minus 84 kilograms, starting to get up to the heavyweights now. In the Olympics, this was a plus 75 kilogram category, and the gold medal went to Iran's Sajid Ganzadeh, and the silver medal to Tariq Hamidi. We have Youssef Badawi in pool 8. He's seeded number 1 for the competition, world ranked number 4. This category will be awaiting the return, hopefully, of the great Jonathan Horn, who was unable to complete his Olympic debut as he succumbed to an injury. But the rest of this category, Anton Sakaku in pool 1, seeded number 6. He's been performing really well, as is Brian Timmermans. The last of the draws in the Karate1 Premier League, the first Karate1 Premier League of the season. There are 4 pools in this particular draw, just 16 competitors, and the first one going to Asiman Gobali, that incredible fighter. Asiman Gobali, seeded number 1, but he's ranked number 4 in the world at the moment. Kai Mahmoud, the 5th world ranked, but he's seeded number 2. Angelo Kvesic of Croatia in pool 2, and he is seeded number 3. And the last man to go on to the draw, Kaplan.